Hey, welcome back to another edition of Everything Football 62. I'm your host, Jonathan Big Tex Johnson, a.k.a. Uncle Tex, a.k.a. Professor Tex. How's it going? Real quick, for those that can remember this. You guys remember the Sports Illustrated when the NFL 1991 season was coming out, and you remember the Sports Illustrated front cover had the Ultimate Weapon on there? You guys remember that? Some of you guys may remember that. Some of you guys weren't even born and probably didn't see that. But some of you cats that's 30, late 30s, early 40s and up will definitely remember that. Remember that, I'm sure. At least you should remember that. Had Randall Cunningham on that bad boy, the ultimate weapon. He was the future of the way quarterbacks was going to be in the future. The ultimate weapon. Had him, in that position, slinging the ball and everything like that. You guys remember that, right? That was in '91, right? And Randall Cunningham that particular year, if you remember, had Randall Cunningham. If I'm not Randall Cunningham, and that year the Eagles started off 4-4. They would finish 10-6. They got bounced in the wild card rounds, which has happened with the Buddy Ryan teams and whatnot. Just happened with those teams, period. Under Buddy Ryan, 3,466 yards passing, right at 59% completion ratio, 30 touchdowns. Longest touchdown of the season, they had 95-yarder. That was that scramble. Bruce Smith throwing him up like it's going to be a safety and all that stuff like that, and slung the ball down there, hit Fred Barnett, took it 95 yards to the house and whatnot. He rushed for like 900 and some odd yards, and that's why they called him the ultimate weapon at that particular time, if those that remember that, right? So you're looking at someone that was 1990, that, 942 yards. He only carried the ball 118 times, 942 yards, 5 touchdowns, 8.0 yards a carry. He'd be all pro that year. He should have won the NFL MVP. They didn't give it to him. They ended up giving it to Joe Montana, who had like 17 or 18 interceptions that year. But I talked about that at some other time. I already talked about that. Politics as usual when it comes to that type of stuff, especially during that time for RC, right? Well, you forward up. So in the midst of that time, you had Randall Cunningham and that ultimate weapon, like I said. So this ultimate weapon, as time would go on, would eventually produce between Randall Cunningham and between a Lamar Jackson. So you had your Michael Vick, who was that next phase of the game, the blinding speed and everything. Never no weapons around that young man though. And that's what a lot of people don't talk about. And it's funny. I was watching Atlanta play last week when they was playing Carolina last Thursday, a week tomorrow. And Troy Aikman was talking. And he was saying, just kind of gloating on how, man, Matt Ryan has always had weapons around him. Offense was never an issue. Always had weapons around. I said, but Mike never had no weapons around him. It was just Mike, right? But I'll leave that alone. That's for some other. I think I've kind of touched on that a little bit before. Between that, so in between Randall Cunningham, then it would be later on being guys like Donovan McNabb. Donovan McNabb had a great career, right? Five NFC's championships and whatnot. Donovan McNabb, hell of a quarterback and whatnot. Could never win that big one and whatnot. Got him to the Super Bowl, but couldn't win the big one. Ran him out of town. A lot of good quarterbacks in between that time. Even your Vince Youngs that came in and did a little something real quick. Work ethic ran him out. I've talked about that before. You have guys like Dante Culpepper that came in the game. Steve McNair and whatnot. See, it's funny on how they go about doing these things. What they do is they'll take a Cam Newton. They'll take a Vince Young. They'll take a RG3. They'll take a Randall Cunningham. They'll take a Mike Vick. They put them there in the middle. Now, somebody like, let's say, like a and they'll take Lamar. And like I said, Lamar Jackson. They'll take my man Russell Wilson, and they'll take Pat Mahomes, and they put them outside of those guys over here. They're not like those guys there. If you notice that, if you really take really take a nice look at that, they don't put him like that. But those guys are dual threat quarterbacks. Mahomes got quickness and feet. He's just going to buy his time. His talent is his arm. But he can run that ball if he has to. You saw that move that he made with them Titans before they going in for halftime. I think it was against the Titans, either the Texans, one of them teams. And that move that he made. He can buy time and he can run if he has to. I'm telling you, right? We know what Wilson can do. They don't ever want to put him in that category because the athleticism is not as blind. They don't have the blinding speed like some of these other guys got, or that woo factor, because their thing is their arm. That's their key. The other guys, a lot of times, it's their feet, their strength, and whatnot. So this is where we're at now. And you see they kind of separate them guys from them guys there, right? And then, like I said, throwing to Dante Culpepper. People forget about how good Dante Culpepper was. Just he could never duplicate certain seasons again. So it brings me to like what I'm getting ready to talk about. Now it's all this talk about have they got Lamar Jackson's kryptonite? What is going on with Lamar Jackson? He can't do this. Is he able to do it? Have they figured him out? No, he's not figured. I say figured out. I'm saying they can't figure that. I said they actually should have won that game when they played Pittsburgh, but they didn't. Lamar has turned the ball over fumbled the ball quite a few times and whatnot. But the thing that I find from my research and from looking at the games, because I'm in Northern Virginia and they're going to show the Baltimore games and the Washington games, I'm going to see him play. I see him play a lot. What I have seen him do, everything was effortless last year. It wasn't a panic look on his face. It was none of that. It was having fun. And see, it was having fun. But see, what's happened is, here you have a kid that comes in, takes over quarterback chores in 2018, goes 6-1, win the North, lose against San Diego in the wild card. Then they go 13-3 or whatever last year, or hit 13-2. I don't think he played the last game. 13-2, wins the MVP, throws for all of those yards, and whatnot. 36 touchdowns, balling out. Then I think had 5 or 6 touchdowns rushing, rushed for over 1,200 yards rushing. I'm like, you name it, he did it. Like I said, 36 touchdowns. He only threw like 6 picks. I mean, everything was flowing for him last year, but they lost. They wasn't ready. The Titans came in and not a better team. They just came in there ready to play ball. And therein lies the difference in a lot of that stuff. They came in there to play ball. You talking about somebody who rushed for 1,206 yards, 6.9 average, so he counted for 37 touchdowns last year. Okay? And whatnot. Didn't win the game against Titans, got bounced. Okay. Take it now. They'll go reach back and start talking about the losses against Clemson and against Mississippi State. Okay? Okay, fine. I'll give you that. Right? The only problem I see with Lamar Jackson right now, Lamar Jackson is sitting up there listening to the detractors. Don't listen to them, my man. Go play your game. And see that even I think his offensive coordinator is the same guy that had Randall Cunningham over in the Eagles. And with Rich Kotite, right? Randall Cunningham said something interesting, something I'd already said in his football life thing a couple of years ago. All the time that I was out of the pocket running, doing my thing, I never got hurt. As soon as they wanted me to become a pocket passer, I missed the whole season. I've seen too many cases where Lamar Jackson could have took off and had like 15 yards in front of him. That 15 yards for anybody else, that's 30 yards for him with his speed. He's trying to be, and he doesn't have to be, he wants to be the passer first because he wants that stigma off of him because he knows I can run. That's why he didn't run the 40. Y'all know I can run, so there's no reason you already know I can run. My thing is trying to convince you that I'm a passer, right? And the detractors won't say, well, okay, that was a fluke. Now we get right. And that's in the back of his head. Then he can't win. They're winning games. I mean, the guy's 25-4 right now. So it's like they can still win the North. But at the same time, play your game. Don't get out of your zone of playing your game. Play your game. Still throw the RPOs, and they're trying to make him a traditional, and he's not. I've seen him. He held the ball too many times. Last year, he takes off. Everything was effortless last year. It's like he didn't have a care in the world. Now it looks like he's worrying. Drop the worry. Get out there and play ball. And another thing, he's got extremely comfortable with his tight ends. That's fine. They're there. You got Hollywood. What's happening with Lamar, what he needs to finally realize, and his offensive coordinator need to realize, is like you got Hollywood. Hollywood, that's his Tyreek Hill. And he needs to be used as such. And they don't use him as such. They use sweeps and jet sweeps and stuff like that. He needs to be using that. He needs to be used in slants going across that. He uses speed to go on. He's not as bulky or as cut up as Tyreek Hill, but he has the same type of speed. That's why they drafted him for. And you see sometimes when they connected last year, he needs to connect more with his wide receiver. But nothing's wrong with him. The thing that he needs to do is play his game, and they need to let him play his game. But I see the game that they're playing, right? The game that they're playing. But all of a sudden now, man, Justin Herbert, man, he's athletic. Look at how he runs, and he throws the ball. Oh man, look at Danny Dimes. He can run that ball. He's athletic and he can throw the ball. Look at Josh Allen. He does it. I'm like, but when they were doing it, they're looked upon as being that's not good. That's not going to work. But these guys are doing it, and you already know where I'm going at with that, and that's not fair. So what Lamar Jackson needs to do, play his game. And Harbaugh needs to see that, play his game. Cut down on the turnovers. He's holding the ball too long because he's trying to, if it's not there, brother, take off. Take off and go get it. That scares them more. When you get to doing that and you get about 2 or 3 of them 30-yard run, 20, 25-yard runs, that's going to open up the pass because now it's like, you know what I'm saying? We got to do something about this run over the top. And now J.K. Dobbins is coming on 100 yards last week, I'm sorry, this past Sunday. Saw the kid playing in Texas by LaGrange. Saw him play at Ohio State, right? Hey, man, you better watch him. Ingram is hurt and whatnot. Guy rushed for 100-some odd yards. He could be a threat coming out back. He has pretty good hands. So they have weapons there. He's built like a Kareem Hunt. A little bit thicker. They got the defense. Everything is there in place. He just needs to play his game and he'll be fine. But saying he can't win the game, no, he needs to win the game. But you got to win. You have to win games to get in the tournament. Let's put that in perspective. You have to win games to get in the tournament. If you're 4-25 or 5-25, you're not getting in the tournament to even lose a big game. Okay? So that's not even happening. Play his game, get that RPO back, get the get the take it easy thing, take it easy route. Or like, hey man, it's smooth. We got this big trust, all that stuff that they were saying last year, and just let it go. Stop thinking so. It's like he wasn't thinking everything was effortless last year. He's thinking too much because this is what the critics do. This is how they play the game with quarterbacks, with the brother quarterback. This is the game that they play. You don't supposed to do that. That's not good. But the other guys are doing it. And I'm not trying to make it. This is just what I see. But I might come back with a little something later. My man. Thanks to my man Jermaine. I think Jerram. I think it was a Jerram Lowe. I guess my man. I almost about to say I'll do this tomorrow, whatever. But I saw he wanted me to make the show. Someone did the show. This is my man Jerram Lowe. And whatnot. Check it out. I got you, my man. So like I tell you guys all the time, there's no greatest of all time. There's no GOAT as long as time is still going on. And like I tell you guys all the time, numbers don't lie and get emotional. People do. I might just come on back.